The US and China are engaged in a new type of conflict, one that is not fought on traditional battlefields. This is a war of regulations and restrictions, being fought in government offices and boardrooms. The focus is on microchips, or semiconductors, which are tiny pieces of metal that are crucial to our everyday lives. From iPhones and ovens to supercomputers, microchips run the world we live in. Today, about 1 trillion chips are produced each year, and their production has become a strategic industry, with China lending it the same importance as its atomic bomb program. Microchips are not just a convenience for everyday gadgets, but a vital part of military operations. From weapons systems to intelligence gathering to AI development, microchips are the key to staying ahead of rivals.
President Biden is making clear just how far he'd go to defend Taiwan in an attack from China.
Are you willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that?
Yes.
US President Joe Biden has said that Washington would defend Taiwan if China staged a, quote, unprecedented attack.
Chips are made up of tiny switches called transistors. These tiny switches, measured in nanometers, are responsible for directing the flow of electricity within the chip. The latest computer chips utilize 5-nanometer transistors, which are smaller than a virus. The smaller the transistors, the more we can fit on a chip, which means more computing power. However, making these chips is a complicated and costly process that not many companies can afford to keep up with. It costs billions of dollars to build a factory that can make these chips, and the factory becomes outdated within a few years. As chip manufacturing technology advances and becomes more complex, fewer companies can keep pace. Only a few, like TSMC and Samsung, have managed to stay ahead of the game by specializing in manufacturing and using the best process technology. Even Intel, the industry giant, is starting to fall behind and may outsource some of its work to TSMC. In 2020, TSMC faced a shortage and entire industries shut down.
Worldwide chip shortage.
Earnings being cut by up to $2 billion.
We don't have these chips, we're in trouble.
In fact, more than 92% of advanced chips are produced by TSMC alone, making the world dangerously dependent on this tiny island. But it's not just the dependency on Taiwan that worries Western countries, it's the fact that Taiwan is constantly under the threat of invasion from China, which claims the democratically self-governed island as its own. And here's the kicker. China also relies heavily on Taiwan for its own chip imports. It's a high-stakes game of supply and demand that could have serious consequences for the entire world. Let's take a look at how the whole supply chain works. It all starts with companies like Apple and Qualcomm, who conceptualize and design processors for their latest devices. The design then travels around the world, electronically, to the Taiwan-based TSMC, where it's transformed into a physical chip using cutting-edge technology. This chip is then shipped to countries like China and Vietnam for assembly before it finally makes its way back to the US for sale. But that's not all. The equipment and software required to make these chips are provided by American companies. Everything was going smoothly until US officials realized that China was using its technology to beat them in their own game.
Tonight, China denying reports it test-fired a hypersonic missile. This demonstrates a huge step forward in China's military capability, and it's understood that US intelligence had no idea that China had moved this far ahead.
The US leveraged its position to enact sanctions on China, banning the country from using US technology. This move triggered global competition among several countries to gain dominance in the field of cutting-edge technologies that play a crucial role in shaping the modern world. The US has put restrictions on Chinese companies like Huawei and SMIC from using American technology for national security reasons. This has hurt China's tech industry and caused some American businesses to suffer too, since they rely on China for growth. The US passed a bill which gives $50 billion to these companies to build chip fabs back in the United States. China sees U.S. sanctions as an attempt to keep them in a low-tier manufacturing role. So they want to be independent and invested a lot of money in their tech industry. But becoming a major player in the chip industry is tough, and it needs more than just money and human resources. Even though China has succeeded in some areas, they have had many failures in domestic chip development efforts. So it will take time and more than just money for them to become a major player. In the 21st century, the world's most valuable resource is no longer oil passing through the Strait of Hormuz, but rather microscopic silicon transistors manufactured in Taiwan. The competition for microchips is not just a tech issue, but a geopolitical one that could shape the future of global power. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.